This is Top Shop Podcast.
Shop Podcast.
Top Shop Podcast.
Podcast for automotive service business owners by Paul Donahue.
All right, hey, Top Shop Podcast guests. We got David Schaefer here, cold front diesel. So we're going to get a little bit different perspective because they don't work on hybrids. Yeah. You guys don't work on hybrids, right?
Right.
Vehicles, right? Yeah. So they got a great reputation. Him and his partner Caden, they're in Rapid City, Michigan. So they have been in the business. They've been in the industry for 12 years, but shop owners for a little over 3. So we prefer to have older shop owners on the podcast, but we don't get a whole lot of them that specialize in diesel. And so we would like to hear your perspective, on that. So David, tell us, how did you get here to be a shop owner? Did you wake up one day and say, I want to own a diesel shop?
So my dad owned a independent repair facility. So I grew up in that. Owned his own business. He started early, like 2001 timeframe. So grew up with the shop, in and out of it, and it never really interested me to work on cars per se.
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed it. It was something that I grew up in, but kind of the calling to business ownership and kind of the entrepreneurial life was kind of instilled in me through watching him. Somewhere along the way in high school, I thought diesels were cool. And my dad hated diesels, still does. But somehow I ended up where I found a passion within that, went to school for it, came back from college and worked on semi trucks for a number of years. But my dad still had his shop open, so naturally me and my friend, me and Caden, my business partner, find some pickup trucks to work on the side, and I always knew that I wanted to be a business owner. I just didn't quite want to do what my dad did per se. So we kind of played around with it and grew it, over several years. Kind of took the slow route because we had good careers ahead of us already. But we knew that this is kind of where our passions lied. So we grew it slowly over the years to make sure we learned a lot of lessons, and thankfully we learned them before we were in too deep.
Right.
And got to the point where, it looked like it was going to be promising. Still difficult, obviously, but that's
Right.
kind of when we decided to make the jump into doing it full time.
Cool.
So,
Where do you think the market is going? Anything about manufacturing diesel trucks and stuff? I mean, has it slowed down? Has it sped up? I know they're pushing for batteries and EVs and hybrids. I think Ford tried to do a complete battery truck that didn't work out too well for them, I don't think.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I would say what we're seeing is, so we're a specialty shop. We only work on pickup trucks, right? Diesel pickup trucks, but we specialize in the 25, 35, 45, 5500 class. So it has to be on a pickup chassis. So we don't deal with the half-ton diesels, at least at this point, and we do not get into medium duty or heavy duty. So just pickup trucks. We started as mostly aftermarket and performance, because that's what excited us, I would say. But kind of what we have seen is over the last several years, primarily based on the economy, we've seen a lot of the aftermarket and accessory repairs that we do or modifications that we do. We've seen that kind of trend downward and more general repair coming to the forefront. I would say also as our business model, continually, evolves. There's definitely more profitability in some sense in the general repair as compared to the aftermarket upgrades. But as far as the industry itself, I think general repair still has to be there. These trucks still have to go down the road. These trucks still have a job. They're very important in our infrastructure and economy.
Hmm.
So I don't see any slowing down there. What I'd say in our world, we're in primarily blue collar, you know, people are the owners of these trucks. So with that, you get a lot of do it yourself people, right?
Oh, okay, sure.
So what we primarily see with that is I think there's a massive opportunity here coming in the future with how complex these trucks have gotten over the years. It's not they're less and less consumer friendly, if you will. So we're getting to the point where there's sensors and electronics in just the braking system, you know, to where Jimmy Joe down the road isn't capable, doesn't have the tooling, doesn't have the equipment to be able to do even some of the more simple services, which are
Hmm.
driving those services now into repair facilities. Some of these jobs and upgrades or performance or repairs or maintenance that your average well-rounded mechanically inclined do-it-yourselfer was doing is getting out of their reach because a lot of things you do have to have diagnostic software, you do have to have specialty tooling, you have to have a deep understanding of systems and electronics to be able to do repairs on these vehicles. So I see, a huge shift where, a lot of the competition of the lower rate old timers, if you will,
Hmm.
they're just not keeping up with the times. It's like the guys that didn't want to get with fuel injection in the past, and they wanted to stick with carburetors.
Right.
Well, you ain't too bad that didn't last.
Yeah.
You're on fuel injection and you're beyond that, right? So, this can be a hard industry unless you have a lot of value to bring to the table and a lot of knowledge and experience. So there's a time and place in a market for every business model, I think.
Hmm.
But I think the low price cheap guy down the road is I think their market share is diminishing. In the value oriented shops that have true diagnosticians, good technicians, is there's a lot of opportunity for those shops.
Right. And you are in you're in a niche, and there's a lot of shops that are starting to niche.
Yeah,
Okay, I just want to work on Asian cars. I just want to work on supercars. So they have enough of them in their market, right?
right.
So, and it's working.
Mhm.
The consumer says, okay, well, this shop only works on my kind of car. I think I'm going to take it there. They know my car better than anybody else, right?
Absolutely.
Guess what? They're right. So you guys are hyper specialized. You're working in a specific type of vehicle.
Yep,
I mean, that vehicle inside and out, I'm sure.
absolutely.
All of those vehicles inside and out. And it's working. I assume it's working for you guys, right? So
Absolutely.
what would you say has been the most difficult part of getting your own shop open and running and what's the most
Uh,
difficult part?
let's say you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
So when I feel like a lot of the time this industry, from the owner operator standpoint, it's always the same old story. The guy opens up his shop, he's the technician, he wears all the hats, he's the
Hmm.
salesman, XYZ, and to get to a point of stability and success, it typically becomes you increase your staffing and you increase your knowledge of how to operate a business. You can't just be a good technician. You also have to be a good business owner as well, right? Um, so going through those growth stages is what's challenging, I think, where I can fix any truck out there, but now I have to make sure that I'm profitable because why am I doing this if why am I doing this if I'm not going to make any money doing it, right?
Right.
Fortunate enough for us, we were a partnership. We were able to kind of divide and conquer. I took on
There you
the
go.
the sales side, I took on the business side, and my business partner Caden took on the shop side of things. So
Right.
it freed up a lot of my time to be able to focus on what it takes to operate a business, right?
Right.
Um, and you kind of find your way in certain areas. Um, but I think, two of the paradigm shifts that I would have, that continue our upward trajectory is one that when you're based on value, you don't have to compete on price, and that's
Right.
like you're talking about being hyper specialized or just being generally specialized in some form or fashion. You bring value to the table. I'm going to go to those guys because they specialize in my vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
There is a value to people that want that value. If you're specialized, then you can charge accordingly, and price isn't as much of an objection because you have all this value, all of these intangibles, that it's not just the difference between my price and this price, it's what do I bring to the table outside of fixing your car, right? um, so I think being value focused is a big one that has definitely helped. And then coaching is another big one. It's getting out of the original mindset, your expanding your knowledge, expanding your visions. And coaching has helped us a ton with that, because um, you just got to work through how to get through certain things. Like pricing is a hard one. Parts are, we live in an internet age where every client that comes in has the potential to think they're an expert on
Right.
pricing and how much your repair should cost at your shop, right?
Oh, yeah.
And hey, I can get this part for this much. We aren't talking about the same part. You're talking about an Amazon part that's actually made in China.
Right.
We're not talking about a good quality part that we know is going to
That's
fix
going
your
to last.
issue.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, or your part numbers are wrong, right?
Oh,
Um,
oh, really? You have people come and they actually have the wrong part number altogether. Yeah.
yeah, they say, hey, I could get it for this much. And that's stuff that, in the past when we first started, a lot of it was you don't have the portfolio to support yourself, right? So
Mhm.
you get in more of those clients that are price driven, and the biggest challenge is getting ourselves away from price driven consumers, to value driven clients, and that has been, our biggest shift.
Okay. So, um, uh, so back to the question, what do you think the biggest challenge was for you out of all the things that you had to overcome?
I think, just overcoming the fact that being a good technician doesn't mean that we're going to be successful.
Right.
Yeah.
That's something I want to drive home, because most repair shop owners, that's what they do. They become good technicians, and they're like, hey, I want to run my own shop. But a lot of them don't really realize that there's a massive difference between being a good technician and being a good auto repair shop owner, because now you just threw 20 different dynamics into it: culture, hiring, HR, finances, name it,
Right.
so there's a big thing. Oh, hold on one second. Delete. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So you mentioned coaching, and coaching, bar none, every time I do a podcast with with a repair shop owner, and I ask them what the most important, thing or event or whatever that they've done that's really helped them move their shops forward. And I continue to hear coaching. And then, of course, the shop owners that have never had coaching, I never hear that from them, you know. So, but I had a podcast last month with somebody who had been a shop owner for over 20 years. He says, yeah, I, saw the coaches at the events that I'd go to, and I don't need a coach for. I've been running a shop for 20 years. I know how to run a shop. Got a coach. It was Cecil Bullard at the Institute, and it doubled his revenues in 1 year.
Right.
He goes, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know about my labor rate was way too low. I didn't know, so anyway, so, if for a new shop owner, what do you think the most important tip you could give to a new shop owner? Hey, I'm just going to be opening a shop this year. What do you think the most important advice that you could give me is? What would you say?
I think I want to say, getting a coach is the best advice that I could give you. But at the end of the day, getting a coach, a lot of the times, you're looking at a $20,000 or more a year commitment,
Right.
right? And that's just not feasible in the
For a lot
beginning,
of people.
right?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is if you focus on the value that you provide, you will be able to justify the cost that you need to bill, and you can get yourself out of a lot of the churn of price driven sales, and you can focus more on value, and you can deal with better clients instead of dealing with consumers. You're now dealing with clients, people that understand, and people that appreciate the service that you do.
Hmm.
So I think the biggest thing is to start with, you know putting a fair value on yourself, and providing that, you provide that value then onto your clientele, and that will take care of a lot of it. Just you start there, and you provide a good service with a lot of value, the money will come, and then you can look at, how do I maximize this? How do you get a different perspective? Because we live in these bubbles of self-awareness, right? We expand upon that, we'll never know the possibilities. So, if you live in in a village with dirt huts, that's what you think. Maybe the biggest hut in town is your aspiration, but until you go to a beachfront property, you'll never know that's a thing,
Right.
right? And I think that's a lot of what, you know industry training events and seminars and coaching really helps with, is expanding your giving you those paradigm shifts to see what is actually possible. Because
Hmm.
sometimes if you don't know that it's possible, you won't ever know that it's attainable. You'll never strive for that, right?
Hmm.
So I think that's a huge part, is just knowing what your value is, providing value, and putting the value at the center of everything will kind of work everything out.
Hmm. Oh, where do you think the market's going in diesel? Do you think they're going to continue, building, these turbo diesel pickup trucks? And I'm not sure what the sales are of these vehicles. I don't have any statistics. You probably know. Diesel sales, pickup truck sales, are they slumping? Are they staying the same? A lot of business owners are going to purchase these trucks because they're a write-off for their business.
Right.
It's a
Yep.
and all the maintenance and everything that they spend on that truck is a tax write-off. So,
Right.
um,
I think it's a stable industry for now. I think these if you look at the infrastructure around the world, it's undeniable that diesel is the core of a lot of it, right? I think people have been, not to get too conspiratorial on you, but diesel has been demonized in a lot of ways, with just blatant false data. It is one of the most energy rich, and dense, uh, forms of energy out there. So I think it's the emission side of things has really been, there's just been a lot of incorrect data to try to demonize something, and that's made it a struggle. That's been the push towards EV, but it's undeniable that these trucks are, you know, when built correctly, these trucks are efficient. These trucks do, offer a huge solution. They do have a power and capability that is unmatched. Um, so it's something that, I think is here to stay, because it's just irreplaceable, realistically.
mhm. So are you a family man?
I am. Yep.
Any
So,
advice on work-life integration, especially when you're just starting a business?
um, man, I was lucky. My wife is understanding.
Right,
Um, isn't always happy, I would say.
right.
Um, but I think the thing is the quality of time when you are present is more important than the amount of time, in some sense.
Hmm.
So, when you're home, put away, put the turn the shop off, be at home, but be intentional when you're home. I think especially anymore, you get home and then you're just this empty shell on your phone or watching TV or whatever it is, if that's the only time that you have available, it needs to be intentional, you know. So put the phones away, spend some time with your family, make it count and, do what you can, but the big thing is not lying to yourself and not lying to your family on how hard you're working. Everybody works hard. It's how effective you are,
Right.
and when they know that you're working towards a better future and they're seeing it happen, uh, it's no BS, and there's a little bit more belief and understanding in that relationship when they're seeing you take the action and it's working.
Right.
If you're working all those hours and nothing's changing, they're going to lose their belief in you a little bit, right?
Correct.
Whether they want to admit it or not.
Yeah. What about finances? Any tips on finances? Because no business, let alone, I don't care what kind of business it is, no business is going to make it without solid financial practices and planning. Any advice on that?
I think the faster, especially as a new business, you're just trying to get by. So you're just trying to sell whatever you can, whatever you're trying to say yes to everything. And it's almost like your finances are in the background, and what is a P&L? What's a balance sheet? What's a KPI, right? The faster you learn and understand those things, the faster you'll progress financially, because then you start to realize that, I don't have to say yes to that job because that job isn't beneficial. This job is way below all of my metrics, right? And you can understand the reports and understand what these KPIs are. And it's going to change depending on the shop and what you're trying to accomplish. But, that's a KPI is a broad term, but
Right.
the faster you familiarize yourself with it and you become more financially literate, and you start to make a lot more clear decisions that are going to turn out beneficial financially, instead of just reactional to, a lot of the jobs that you take, especially in the early years, you end up going backwards on, like it wasn't worth your time, but you don't understand that if you don't ever understand the numbers of it either.
Yeah. Well,
So
your advice to stay out of that low price trap, which is what happens to a
yeah,
lot of mechanics who open up their own shop. They immediately get caught in the low price trap because they think that they have to do that in order to get the business in. So instead of just focusing on the quality, yeah, we might be a little bit more in that shop down the road, but here's why we're different. We offer this, we do that,
right.
and as I've had a lot of shop owners they always tell customers, it's not rocket science, you usually get what you pay for, right? So this is your car.
Absolutely.
This is your
Right.
car. That's the best line that a shop owner ever told me, that he told people, these price shoppers. So, and he said he closed a lot of sales that way. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, how are you different? Well, we're not going to use a China part, we're not going to, because that's how they're going to be able to. So anyway, so you guys have got that down great, which is fantastic. And you have really any books or anything besides the training that you got from your coach to help you become a business owner and leader, because you have made that successful transformation. Congratulations. You went from tech and mechanic to business owner, and you have a really good clientele. People come from like way far away to right, because I've talked to
Absolutely.
you before. I remember you said, man, I got people who drive 30, 40 miles to come see me. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hours at sometimes.
Hours. So
Yeah.
to come to your shop because they know
Yeah.
how good you guys are with their particular kind of vehicle. Yeah.
Yep.
As far as like retaining customers, I mean, besides the common sense stuff, do you have anything that you guys do to, that you guys do to help, once you get a customer in, you're going to make sure that they come back? You got any tips, or is there anything that you guys do that's different?
So we're selling an experience. like I said, we really focus on being value driven, and
Right.
when you start talking about a high, a high emotion industry, right? Like no one wants their vehicle to break down. No one wants to spend thousands of dollars with you, right?
Right.
Maybe some of the aftermarket stuff people get excited about, but still, a lot of it is general repairs that they're not excited about. So, um, I think one of the big struggles is when you're dealing with those high motion things and you don't provide uh, a good experience or create positive emotions with it, you become very transactional in that. Then all they have to remember you by is that price, is that bill. So for us, we try to offer the best experience as you can. One of the things that we do is we actually have a full detail bay. Every single truck that we work on, no matter if it's an oil change or new engine, it's getting detailed in some form or fashion before the client returns it, before we
Wow.
return it to the client. And it's just that extra little thing before they leave. They walk through the shop, they get to see the shop. The detail bay is at the very end. Their truck is inside. Right now it's winter out, so if it's negative, 10 degrees outside, we walk them through the nice warm heated shop. They see their truck, it's all clean. And they pull out of, it's already warmed up, ready to go for them. So,
Right.
those are the things that create a good emotion, right? Memories are driven by emotions, right? And if you can
Mhm.
create a positive emotion, you can create a positive memory, which in turn is going to make you top of mind when it comes to recommendations or coming back to you.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's some really sound advice, and I'll bet you are the only shop that does that. Yeah, I come to pick up my truck and it's clean.
yeah,
Yeah, it's been detailed. Yeah, that's
right,
definitely over and above what any other shop or competitor probably does.
right,
They're going to fix the car. Say, here's your car, here's your truck.
right, right,
Right. So that I'm sure as soon as you get the first time customer in, they see that's it. You probably that
right,
whatever that detailing is costing you,
right,
it's right. Yeah, it's not. So
absolutely,
yeah, you know to invest in your customers. That's a really good one. I have people say, "Oh, we call them, we do this, we do that, we give them gift cards and all kinds of stuff." So I've heard of
right,
it. But detailing, oh, that's a good one.
right,
That one to get me, my vehicle.
right,
So
right.
anyway, um, is there any technology changes that's going on with diesel that you guys got to keep up with that's any
Yeah, I
issue
mean,
or
I wouldn't say it's necessarily like a large issue, but obviously electronics are more and more prevalent. We go from 2 modules to 30 modules.
right?
So, understanding electronics are obviously important. These systems get more complex, especially the emission systems on these trucks. There's a lot
Right.
of technology and, um, there's a lot of technology involved in that.
Hmm.
Um, but as far as, diagnostic technology, a lot of it is the same things apply. Your scanners or oscilloscopes are going to do, the brunt force of a lot of that stuff, but it comes down to really understanding the system more than it does, you know, you have to understand the system first to be able to apply the tooling or technology.
Right. And so, you guys got to, I guess, do you have to purchase the new stuff every year, the software and all that? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, any question that I should have asked that I didn't know to ask a diesel repair facility?
No, I think you covered it. I think you brought up books at one point, right? One
Yeah.
one if I think leaders are readers, and there's tons upon tons of books out there that are helpful, from personal development to leadership to business fundamentals. But I think as a newer shop owner, the E-Myth Revisited is a great one.
Okay.
That one is really about the topics that we've talked about, where you go in as the technician, and you think that's it. I'm going to be so good at this because I'm such a good technician, and then next thing you know, you're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and barely scraping by. And what that book is about is like, this is where you started, but you need to break out of this and get to the next step. You have to learn how to be a business owner as well and put the right systems in place. So that's a good one to really help you understand that changes need to be made, in the beginning. That's a good starter, I would say.
Okay. Any other books besides Eat Myth Revisited, which is a good one? Yeah.
Right. There's tons of them. All of them are going to be good. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is another good one. Anything that can really open your mind, I think is huge. We can learn how to be technicians. We can learn how to fix these trucks, but learn how to open your mind to the capabilities of just what's out there in front of you is huge.
Okay, that's awesome. So listen, I don't want to take any more of your time. I really appreciate your time to be on Top Shop Podcast. So, best of luck. We will see you at future trade shows. That's where I met you. So we'll see you at the next trade show. Okay.
All right. Sounds good, Paul. Thank you.
For additional automotive resources and exclusive content, follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all our episodes. Thanks again for joining us in the driver's seat, and we'll see you next time for another thrilling episode of Top Shop.